How many of you guys know this story pretty well? Christmas Carol. Charles Dickens was born in 1812, and he wrote this and published it in 1843. He was in his 30s when he wrote this. And there's some things going on at this time. The Industrial Revolution had really started to take shape, and the cities were getting bigger and crowded and dirtier. And little kids were being used as labor. Kids 4 years old up to 12 years old were working 14, 16-hour days in factories.
Where is this?
In London.
Okay.
But it was happening all over the world. Well, this happened to Charles Dickens. His dad was a lower middle class fella, and he came into some debt. And he and his wife got thrown into debtor's prison, and young Charles Dickens had to work in a boot black factory to get him out. And he saw the problem. He lived the problem, but then he saw the problem. And when he became an adult, he would walk around the streets of the poor areas of the city, and he'd be moved about the poverty and the children working. And so he decided, well, what can I do? I'm going to write a story that's going to shed light on this problem and get people thinking about it. So what he did was he wrote this story, A Christmas Carol. And when he put it out, thank you, Warren. When he put it out, when he published it, he spared no expense. He published it in a red leather binding with gold embossed letters on the front and gold on the sides, and sold it for only 5 shillings, which was not very much money. Because he wanted to give a nice gift to people, but he wanted to make sure everybody could afford it. Well, it doesn't take a genius to know that he lost money on the deal. But you know what? He didn't mind, because he was doing it out of generosity. He had already had some bestsellers. But he decided that this story and getting it into people's hands was more important than making a lot of money on the story. Of course, now it's probably one of the most famous stories ever written. So, Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol, a ghost Christmas story. Marley was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatsoever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge, his signature was good for anything he put it on. Yes, old Marley was dead as a doornail. Scrooge and he were partners for many years. He was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole friend, and his sole mourner. There's no doubt about it, Marley was dead. That you must understand, or nothing wonderful can come of the story that I'm about to tell. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name on the sign. It hung there over the warehouse and their money-changing hole for years and years and years. Scrooge and Marley. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. He carried his low temperature always about him. It iced his office on the dog days of summer and did not thaw 1 degree at Christmas. Merry Christmas, Uncle, God save you. It was Scrooge's nephew. Fred. Merry Christmas. You have a right to be merry. Humbug, I say. What right have you to be merry? Well, Uncle, what right have you to be glum and so obstinate? Well, you shouldn't be happy. You're poor enough. Well, you should be happy. You're rich enough. Humbug, Uncle. Well, Fred, why are you here? What brings you by? Oh, don't be cross, Uncle. Well, what else can I be when I live in a world of fools such as Merry Christmas? What Christmas time is it to you but for a time of paying bills with no money? A time for finding yourself another year older and not 1 hour richer. If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips would be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stick of holly through his heart. Uncle, surely you don't feel that way. Nephew, you keep Christmas in your way, and I will keep Christmas in mine. But that's it, Uncle. You don't keep it. Well, then let me leave it alone if I wish. There are many things, Uncle Scrooge, from which I have derived good, by which I have not profited. I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time, the only time I know of in the long calendar year where men and women seem to open up their shut-up hearts freely and think of other people. And therefore, Uncle Scrooge, therefore it has never put a scrap of gold in my pocket. I believe it has done me good and will do me good, and I say, God bless it. And I say, blast you! Oh, very good, sir. Well said. Jolly good. The voice in the corner was Scrooge's clerk, Bob Cratchit. Cratchit! Another word out of you and you will spend your Merry Christmas looking for a new position. That's Mr. Scrooge. It's all right. Oh, don't be angry, Uncle. Come dine with us tomorrow. Christmas dinner. Right. You and that woman. Why'd you ever get married? Because I fell in love. Because you fell in love. It's the only thing more ridiculous than a Merry Christmas. Good afternoon. I'm so sorry with all my heart, Uncle, to see you so resolute and not dine with us, but I will keep my Christmas humor to the last. So Merry Christmas, Uncle. Good afternoon. And a Happy New Year. I said good afternoon. So as Fred was leaving the store, the money-changing home, two finely dressed gentlemen walked in, a portly one and a thin one, representing for a charity. Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley? Marley has been dead for these 7 years. I am Scrooge. Oh, sir, at this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is usually more than desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and destitute, who struggle and suffer so greatly at this present time. Many thousands are in want of common comforts, sir. Hundreds of thousands are in want of necessaries, sir. But tell me, are there no prisons? Plenty of prisons, sir. Are the union workhouses, are they still in operation? I wish I could say they were not, but they are. Oh, very good. I was afraid from what you had said, something had happened to stop them from operating in their useful course. Good day. Under the impression that they scarcely furnish Christmas cheer of mind and body to the multitude, a few of us, Mr. Scrooge, are endeavoring to raise a fund to build the poor some necessities, some meat, drink, means of warmth. We choose this time, Mr. Scrooge, because it is a time when want is keenly felt, and abundance rejoices. How much can we put you down for, Mr. Scrooge? Nothing. You wish to remain anonymous? I wish to be left alone. I don't make merry at Christmas, and I cannot afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the establishments I mentioned before. My taxes go to the prisons and the workhouses, and they cost enough. Those who are badly off must go there. But many can't go there, sir, and many would rather die. Well, if they're going to die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Good day, gentlemen. After a full day of business, darkness fell upon the gloomy street outside Scrooge's window. Sir, it's time to close up. I'll put out the candles. I suppose you'll want the whole day off tomorrow. Well, if it's quite convenient, Mr. Scrooge. It is not convenient, and it's not fair. If I were to stop your wages for a full day, you would feel yourself ill-used, would you not? Yet, you don't think I'm ill-used to pay a day's wages for no work. It's only once a year, Mr. Scrooge. A fine excuse for picking a man's pocket every December the 25th. But as I suppose I'm the only one who knows it, have the full day off, but be here all the earlier the next morning. Oh, thank you, Mr. Scrooge. And Merry Christmas. Humbug! Now, Scrooge lived in chambers, which had once belonged to his deceased partner, Marley. They were a gloomy set of rooms. Now, let any man explain, if he can, how when Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, looked upon the door knocker and did not see a door knocker, but the face of old Jacob Marley, looking back at him as he did in life with his ghostly spectacles perched upon the top of his head. His hair curiously stirred, as if by breath or hot air. The eyes were wide open, and they were perfectly motionless. Scrooge looked fixedly upon this phenomenon, and then it was a door knocker again. Humbug, Scrooge said. Now Scrooge went up, not carrying a button for the dark. Darkness is cheap, and he liked it that way. But before he shut his heavy door, he walked through his rooms to make sure that everything was all right. Quite satisfied, he closed his door, locked himself in, double locked himself in, which was not his custom. Thus secured against surprise, he took off his favorite cravat, put on his dressing gown and slippers, placed his nightcap upon him, and sat down before the fire to eat his gruel. As he threw his head back in the chair, he glanced up at a bell, a little disused bell, that hung in the room. It was with great astonishment that the bell began to twitch and chime and swing. It swung so softly at the outset, but then it became louder and louder and louder. Ebenezer Scrooge! you? Ask me who I was. All right, who were you then? In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. Jacob Marley? Can you sit down? I can. Well, then do it. You don't believe in me, do you, Scrooge? I don't. Why don't you believe in me? Oh, I don't know. My senses may cheat. A little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheat. Why, you may be a bit of undigested potato. You might be a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, fragment of underdone potato, or beef. There's more gravy than the grave about you, whatever you are. Ah! Man with a worldly mind. Do you believe in me or not? I do. I will, I must. But why do you come and bother me? It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide. And if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world and witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on earth and turned to happiness. Scrooge noted that the ghost was fettered with big, heavy chains and cash boxes. Why are you fettered, spirit? I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard, and I girded it on myself of my own free will, and of my own free will I bore it. Is its pattern strange to you, Scrooge? Or would you know the weight and length of the chain you bear yourself? It was as heavy and as long as this 7 Christmas Eves ago. And you've labored on it since, Scrooge. It's a ponderous chain. Speak comfort to me, Jacob. I have none to give. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond our counting house. Mark me. In life my spirit never roamed beyond the narrows and the limits of our money-changing hole. And now weary journeys lie before me. No rest. No peace. Insensate torture and remorse. But you were always a very kind and, well, not kind. You were a very good, and not a good man. You were always a good man of business, Jacob. Business. Business? Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, benevolence were all my business. At this time of year, Scrooge, I suffer most. Why did I walk through crowds of human beings with my eyes turned down and never raise them to the blessed star which led the wise men to the blessed babe? Hear me. My time is nearly gone. I'm here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate, Ebenezer. You were always a very good friend, Jacob, think ye? You will be haunted by 3 spirits. Expect the first when the bell tolls 1. Look to see me no more, and remember what has passed between us. And he faded away. Scrooge awoke when he heard the deep, dull, hollow, melancholy toll of the bell striking 1. At that time, light flashed up in the room and made it look like day in an instant. The curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge found himself face to face with an unearthly visitor who drew near to him. It was a strange figure, like a child. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white, as if with age, yet the face had not a wrinkle on it. Am I in this presence of the spirit that was foretold to me? You are? Who are you? I am the ghost of Christmas past. Long past? Your past, Ebenezer. Well, what business brings you here? Your welfare. I can't help but thinking that a night of unbroken rest would aid my welfare. Your reclamation, then, Scrooge. Take heed, rise and walk with me. The grasp, though gentle as a woman's hand, was not to be resisted. He rose, but finding that the spirit made its way towards the window, he clasped his robe in supplication. No, not through the window. I am mortal and liable to fall. Bear but a touch of my hand, said the spirit, and you shall be upheld in more than this. During Scrooge's journey with the ghost of Christmas past, images of Scrooge's youth, a sad and lonely time, played out before him. He saw himself grow into a joyless and hard-hearted young man, obsessed with profit, so much so that it cost him happiness, friendship, and the woman he loved. He shut out the world and all who occupied it, save to take their money. It was an exhausted and overcome Scrooge who returned to his bed and sank into a heavy slumber. Then the bell, tolling 2. Come in and know me better, man. Scrooge shot up. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He went into the next room. A ghostly light appeared, and a spirit clothed in one simple green robe and mantle, which was bordered with white fur, sat, its feet observable underneath the ample folds of the garment. His feet were bare, and on his head wore no covering except a holly wreath. Set here and there with shining icicles. Its dark brown curls were long and free as its genial face. Girded about its middle was an antique scabbard with no sword in it, and the ancient sheath was eaten up with rust. You've never seen the like of me before, have you? Never. You've never walked forth with one of the members of my family? I'm afraid I have not. Have you many brothers, Spirit? More than 1,800, I presume. That's a tremendous family to provide for, Spirit. Conduct me where you will. I went forth before on compulsion, but I learned a lesson which is even now working on my soul. I I believe if you have aught to teach me, I will profit from it, so lead on. Touch my robe. Now perhaps it was the pleasure of the good spirit that he had showing off in his power, or else it was his own kind, generous, hearty nature and sympathy for all poor men that led him straight to the home of Bob Cratchit, Scrooge's clerk. What has ever gotten into your precious father then? And your brother Tiny Tim? And Martha? Where is everyone? Martha's here, Mother. Oh, it's so good to see you, dear. Oh, come have a seat by the fire. Oh, warm yourself up. Lord bless ye. Why are you so late? Oh, we had to clean up for Christmas, Mother. Well, never mind, as long as you are here. So happy to see you. Father's coming. Hi, Mother. Hi. So Martha hid herself, and in came Bob, his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas, for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch, and had his limbs supported by an iron frame. Hello, my lovelies. Merry Christmas. Wait a minute here. Where's Martha? She's not coming. Not coming? On Christmas Day? And then Martha jumped out of her hiding place. Oh, I can't tease you, Father. Here I am. Oh, Martha Miguel. Bless my soul, it's good to see you. All right, children, now go wash up for dinner. You look like dustmen. How was Tiny Tim? How did he behave? Oh, he was good as gold and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much. He thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me, coming home, that he had hoped the people in church saw him, and because he was a cripple, it might be pleasant to them to remember on Christmas Day who it was that made the lame beggars walk and the blind men see. At last dinner was ready, and there was never such a goose. It was eked out with tomatoes and potatoes and applesauce. It was a sufficient dinner for the whole family. It was cheap but glorious. And then the pudding. Oh, Bob Cratchit said it was the greatest success Mrs. Cratchit had ever achieved since their marriage. It was a triumph. And then he raised his glass and said, "To the founder of the feast, Merry Christmas to us all. God bless us, and God bless Ebenezer Scrooge." God bless us, everyone, Tiny Tim added. The founder of the feast. Oh, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to face upon. And I hope he'd have good appetite for it too. My dear, the children, it's Christmas Day. It should be Christmas Day, I'm sure, on which one drinks to the health of an odious, stingy, hard-hearted, unfeeling man as Ebenezer Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow. My dear, it's Christmas Day. I'll drink to his health for your sake and the day's sake, but not his sake. Long life to him, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, blah, blah, blah. He'll be very merry, I have no doubt. By this time it was getting dark and snowing pretty heavily. And as Scrooge and the spirit went along the streets, the brightness of the roaring fires in kitchens and parlors and all sorts of rooms was wonderful. One such parlor, to Scrooge's surprise, was that of his nephew, Fred. He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live, and he believed it too. Oh, more shame on him, Fred. Oh, really, my dear, he's a comical old fellow. That's the truth, and not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offences carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him. I'm sure he's very rich, Fred. At least you always told me so. Well, of that, my dear, his wealth is of no use to him. I mean, he doesn't do anything good with it. He doesn't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't the satisfaction of helping the poor and the destitute. He doesn't benefit us with it. I have no patience with him. Oh, I have. I feel sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself. Always. The consequence, think, that he loses some pleasant moments which could do him no harm. I mean, to give him the same chance every year. I will do that, whether he likes it or not, for I pity him. Come now, let's have a game, eh? Well, you can't have a Christmas without a game, right? Right. Okay. How about we play the yes and no game? Yes, and yes and no bully game. All right. Let's see. Fred, you start. Very well. I have just the thing in mind. Is it vegetable? No, it's not vegetable. Is it animal? No, not animal. I'm sorry, that's that up. Is it vegetable? No. Animal? Yes, it is an animal. A savage animal? Well, sometimes it can be quite a savage animal. Is it found in London? Usually found in London. It's a dog. No, it's not a dog. A rat. No, it's not a rat. No. Wait a minute. It's an animal in London. Is it an unwanted animal? More often than not. I know who it is. What? It's your Ebenezer Scrooge. As the laughter rang in his ears, Scrooge said, "No more, spirit. I wish to see no more." It was a long night. It was a strange night. But while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost of Christmas present clearly grew older. Are spirits' lives so short? My life upon this globe is very brief. It ends tonight. Tonight at midnight. Hark, the time is drawing near. Forgive me. I see something strange protruding from underneath your skirt, spirit. Is it a foot? Or is that a claw? It might be a claw, for the flesh there is upon it. Look. Why, they appear to be two children, spirit. They resemble skeletons more than humans. These two children yours? They are man's, Scrooge. The boy is ignorance, and the girl is want. Beware them both, Scrooge, in all their degree, but most of all beware this boy. For on his brow I see written which is doom, unless the writing be erased. Well, have they no refuge? No resources? You mean, Scrooge, are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? Oh, Spirit, you use my words against me. Don't leave me, no, please. The bell struck 12, and Scrooge looked about him for the ghost and saw it not. At the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley. Yeah. And lifting up his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him. Am I in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come? Nothing. Are you about to show me shadows of things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before me? Is that so, Spirit? No response. Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be a better man than I was, well, I am prepared to bear your company and do it with a thankful heart. But will you not speak to me? Just a bony finger pointing forward. Lead on, the night is waiting fast and it is precious time to me. I know. Lead on, Spirit. The phantom moved away as it had come towards him, slowly, and Scrooge followed in the shadow of its dress. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen. Observing that the hand was pointing to them, Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk. No, I don't know much about it either way. All I know is he's dead. When did he die? Last night, I believe. Oh, what's the matter with him? I thought he'd never die. I don't know. God knows why he died. The most important thing, what's he done with his money? I haven't heard. Left it to his company, perhaps. Hasn't left it to me, I know that. It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life, I don't know anybody who would go to it. Oh, I don't mind going if there's lunch provided. They left the busy scene and went into an obscure part of town where Scrooge had never gone before. The ways were foul and narrow, and shops and houses were wretched. Far in this den of infamous resort, there was a beetling shop.
Thank you, Warren.
Where charcoal and greasy offal and bones and rags were sold. In the midst sat a man about 70 years of age. As Scrooge and the Phantom came into the presence of this man, a woman with a heavy bundle slunk into this shop. She had scarcely entered, and then another woman, similarly laden, came into the shop. You couldn't have met in a better place, me friends. Come into me parlour. What we have here? What we have here for old Joe, eh? Here's what I got, Joe. And why are you gawking at me, Mrs. Dilber? Every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did. That's true, it's true. It was a judgment upon him. Very well then. Who's the worse for a loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose. No, indeed. If he wanted to keep these items after he was dead, the wicked old screw, why wasn't he more natural in his lifetime? Yeah. If he had, he'd have somebody to look after him when he was struck with death. Instead, he laid there gasping out his last, all by himself. It's the truest word ever spoken. It was a judgment, I say, a judgment upon him. Open that bundle there, old Joe, and tell me the value of it. Speak plain. I'm not afraid to be the first. Open up the bundle, Joe. What do you call this? bed curtains? You don't mean to say you took 'em down with 'em lying there, did you? Yes, I did. Why not? You were born to make a fortune. I certainly won't hold my hand back when I can get anything by reaching it out. Not for the sake of such a man as he, I promise you, old Joe. Now don't drop oil on those blankets. His blankets? Who else's do you think? He isn't likely to take cold without him where he's going. I hope he didn't die of anything catching. Oh, don't be afraid of that, Joe. I wasn't so fond of his company that I would have loitered about him if he had such things, eh? My next, Joe. Now look through that shirt. Look through it till your eyes ache and you won't find a hole in it. Nor a threadbare place. It's the best he had. A fine one too. And they would have wasted it if it hadn't been for me. What you mean wasted it? Putting it on him to be buried in, I'm sure. Somebody was fool enough to put it on him, so I took it right off. If calico ain't good enough to be buried in, it's not good enough for anything. It's quite becoming to the body. He can't look uglier than he did in this one. Well, that's the end of it. There you go. Give you those shillings there, shillings there. Well, my friends, let us depart this place. We profit from this man now that he's dead. Spirit, I see that the case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends towards that way. Merciful heavens. Suddenly a vision came to Scrooge and he recoiled in fear, terror. For the scene had changed and now he almost touched a bed. And laying on the bed was a bare, uncurtained bed. There was a raggedy sheet covering something up. A pale light rising up in the room. Underneath lay a body, plundered, bereft, unwatched, unwept, uncared for. Scrooge glanced towards the phantom. Spirit, this is a fearful place. In leaving it, I shall not let its lessons depart from my mind. Trust me, but please, can we go? The finger pointed towards the head, bidding Scrooge to remove the sheet. I understand you, and I would do it if I could, but I've not the power, Spirit. I've not the power. If there's any person in this town who feels emotion caused by this man's death, show that person to me, Spirit, please. Let me see some tenderness connected with this death, or this dark chamber will haunt me forever. There was a transition of light. And once again they were on the street in front of Bob Cratchit's little house. This is Cratchit's house. Oh yes, this is a kind and warm place. Thank you for bringing me here, Spirit. But why is the family so sullen? Oh no. Oh no, Tiny Tim. Where is your father? He must be near his time. He's past it, Mother. But I think he's walked a little slower than he has these last few evenings. Just then the door opened. Hello, my lovelies. I'll say there's a nip in the air out. It's a miracle I didn't turn into an icicle just walking home from church. You went today, Robert. I did, my dear. I wish you could have seen the place. It would have done you very good. It would have done you good to see how green the place is. But you'll see it often. I promised him I would walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My little child. Spectre, something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I do not know how. Tell me, what man was that whom we saw lying on that bed? The phantom pointed as before, and suddenly the duo was standing in a dismal churchyard. Here then was the wretched man's grave. The spirit pointed down into it. Before I draw near to that stone to which you pointed, answer me this one question. Are these the shadows of things that will be? Or are they the shadows of things that may be only? Men's courses will foreshadow certain ends, to which if persevered in, they must lead. But if the courses are departed from, the ends will change. Correct? Say it's thus with me, and what you've shown me. The spirit was unmovable as ever, pointing towards the grave. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went. And following the finger, he read the name upon the neglected gravestone. Ebenezer Scrooge. I am the man who lay upon that bed. No, spirit, no. No, hear me, I am not the man I was. Why show me all of this, if I am past all hope? Spirit, I will honor Christmas. I'll honor it in my heart. I will try to keep it all year. I will live in the past and the present and the future. The spirits of all three will strive within me. I won't shut out the lessons they have taught me. Oh, tell me, I can sponge away the writing on this stone. Holding his hands up in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, dwindled into a bedpost. I'm home. I'm alive. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven and Christmas be praised. I'm alive. Oh, I say it on my knees, oh, Jacob, on my knees. I don't know what to do. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. Merry Christmas, everybody. And a Happy New Year to all the world. Scrooge rushed to the window, threw open the sash and looked out. You there, what is today? Me, sir? Yes, you. What? What is today? Well, today, it's Christmas Day, sir. I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. Oh, they can do anything they like. Of course they can. My fine fellow, hello. Do you know the poulterers over on the next street? Oh, I should say I do. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey yet? The one that's hanging up there. Not the little one, but the big one. What, the one as big as me? Yes, the one as big as you, my lad. Go there and buy it for me. Be serious. I am serious, my lad. Here. Take this money and go. I'm in earnest. Buy it. And tell them to bring it here, and I will give them the directions of where to take it. Come back with the man, and I'll give you an extra shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes and I'll give you half a crown. I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's house. He shan't know who sent it. That bird is twice the size of Tiny Tim. He dressed himself in his best and at last got out into the streets. And the people were by this time pouring forth as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present. And walking with his hands behind him, Scrooge regarded everyone with a delighted smile. Merry Christmas to you. And then he ran into the portly gentleman who had been there the day before Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, sir. Mr. Scrooge. Yes. I want to apologize for the way I behaved the other day. I know I'm not your favorite person, and my name, well, it does not give you pleasure to say, but I want to make up for what I did not give before. Will you have the goodness of stopping by my shop later today? I want to give... Lord bless me! Dear Mr. Scrooge, are you serious? Dreadfully serious, and not a farthing less. Great many back payments are included in that, I assure you. Will you come and see me tomorrow? I will, sir. Thank you. Well, thank you. 50 times thank you, and bless you. Soon, Scrooge found himself at the door of his nephew Fred. Good heavens, Uncle Scrooge! Fred, I have come to dinner, if I'm still invited. Will you let me in, Fred? Praise the Lord, it's a Christmas miracle. Yes, come in. Clara, Uncle Scrooge has come to dinner. What a Christmas day it was. And then the following morning, Scrooge made sure he was in the office early so he could catch Bob Cratchit arriving a whole 2 minutes late. Mr. Cratchit, you are late, sir. What do you mean, coming here at this time of day? Well, I'm very sorry, sir. Step this way, if you please. But it's only once a year, sir. It won't be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Cratchit. I am not going to put up with this anymore, my friend. I'm not going to stand here for this sort of thing. Therefore, Bob Cratchit, I am about to raise your salary. Bob Cratchit about fainted. Well, what's going on? Merry Christmas, Bob. And a merrier Christmas, my good fellow, that I have given you for many a year. I will raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family. And we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a bowl of Christmas punch. Bob, make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit. Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all, and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a man, as good a friend, a good a master that the good old city ever knew. It was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us as well. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. Thank you.